Is there a natural frequency floating through the air right now? A natural frequency, possibly a healing frequency that is known to the trees, imprinted within their DNA and known to our very own bodies. And if yes, could that frequency possibly be 432 hertz, as many people believe? Or is it 528 hertz or 999 hertz? So let's investigate this topic, dive a little deeper and see where we get. So recently a whole bunch of people started to tune their music to 432 Hz instead of the common 440 Hz. Now, if you're not a musician, let me explain this first shortly in some simple terms. In a musical piece, there is a reference pitch. That is a particular note, which is A or La, that is tuned to a particular frequency, usually at least since 1955. It's globally tuned to 440 Hertz. So here we got the A in 440. And if we bring it down with 8 Hertz, we've got A in 432. So if you tune your music to 432 Hertz, that means your music is just slightly tuned lower, 8 Hertz or 8 cycles per second lower than the common 440 Hertz. So the song you hear right now is tuned to the reference pitch of 440 Hertz.
I fell in love with your frequencies.
And now we drop it 8 Hertz to the reference pitch of 432 Hertz. So you see, this is a tiny little difference. Most people don't even notice the difference unless, of course, you tune it while playing it. It is, to be precise, a third of a half tone lower. So if you ever went into sound healing or you looked up on YouTube or Spotify meditation music or healing music, you probably came across one of these so-called healing frequencies. Maybe it's 432, which is perhaps the most popular, or the other very popular 528, so-called love frequency, a part of the Solfeggio frequencies, which are tremendously popular as well. And so these are particular acoustic frequencies that are given some healing properties and sometimes particular healing properties, like this frequency is for releasing anxiety, this frequency is generally the natural frequency, the other is for awakening love, and so on. It's a good sell, but I'm gonna give you my conclusion already straight away. If you know me already, I wrote a whole article series pretty much in depth a couple of years ago on healing frequencies. It was a research for myself as well. I had been working with sound healing for over a decade, and I decided I wanted to get to the root of these theories. And my conclusion was very clearly that there are no magical frequencies that work the same for everyone. And so 432 isn't the magical healing frequency that is, which it is often called. But why? Let us understand this here a little deeper as well. And also what motivates people to tune their music differently. Now, alongside with my research some years ago, I was regularly double checking the reference pitch of some very popular songs on YouTube especially. Because on YouTube, probably more than any other channel, there are tremendously popular songs because of their related frequency. For example, here is a song. So this is a song apparently tuned to 432 hertz, and it promises a healing of the full physical body, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And the funny thing is, it's not even tuned to 432 hertz. And have a look here, how many streams? 47 million streams. 47 million. That's quite a bunch of people that actually believed this song was tuned to 432 and had healing properties. Now maybe it has healing properties and maybe you like it, but it is tuned to 440 hertz. So this is one example. Here is another. This is a song also on YouTube from the Solfeggio frequencies. It is apparently 852 hertz and promises letting go of fear, overthinking, worries. If you listen to this song, it will cleanse destructive energy, awaken intuition. Because of the healing 852 frequency. Also, this track has 49 million streams already. And once again, the goofy thing is, it is not 852 hertz. It's not even appearing anywhere in the track. It is the general 440 hertz. I kind of fact-checked quite a bunch of songs, and especially the most popular ones, and at least half of them are not the frequency that they promise to play. Some of them are 440, others are just something completely else. Yeah, it's really weird. At least at that time I found it weird. Once I started to post a little bit more on YouTube, it became clear to me that actually it is an amazing sell, because it's quite a big movement, and people who are interested in healing and in nature and returning to nature and in spirituality in general are usually interested in these codes, and they really work like codes in the sense that they sell, and they if you want to have a popular sound healing video, YouTube suggests you to use the hashtag of 432. I mean, it's the first thing that pops up. For me, as I work with sacred sound and I create content related to sacred sound, it's always the first suggestion. Bring in the hashtag with 432 hertz. I kind of refuse to do that. Yeah, so these are the most popular sound healing related videos. So they work like codes in that sense. So what motivates people to tune their music to one of these frequencies? I will give you 3 important points according to my view. First of all, we kind of covered it already, popularity and possibly also financial gain. Well, it's part of one motivation. People want to get boosted by the algorithm, and clearly the algorithm favors songs with these codes. So that is one thing. Secondly, what motivates people to tune their music to 432 or any other healing frequency? It doesn't matter which frequency. I see clearly a a common denominator, which is mistrust towards authority. We could also call it conspiracy, because in most of the healing frequency theories, there is at least a part of the theory that suggests that there is an elite that wants to manipulate us through using the 440 frequency. In the 432 Hertz movement and theory, that is the Nazis. So, according to the story, during the World War II, the Nazis decided to tune all of the music to 440 Hertz in order to manipulate and eventually destroy humanity through creating a destructive frequency, a frequency that is out of tune with nature. So it's a conscious decision to destroy humanity and to manipulate them. So when I went to research this argument, there is absolutely really nothing to find. We can argue about some of the other motivational factors behind these theories, but there is nothing to find about Nazis apart from only one thing. That is, at some point in 1939, there was an important meeting, European kind of conference about the standardization of the reference pitch, because more and more people started to realize we want to play globally together, and it's just much harder if everyone is tuned to a different frequency, different reference pitch. So it was happening already since the 19th century, and in the 30s it became more and more a topic. So at some point there was a conference in which Goebbels, the Nazi Joseph Goebbels, was also present. That was pretty much it. So it was in London. There was British people. There was people from all over Europe and perhaps the world debating about whether or not they should tune their music to 440 or maybe something else. And Goebbels was present, but he wasn't even giving a speech, or there is no written opinion from his side about the topic. So that was it. This Nazi guy was present. That's it. And that was enough to ignite a whole mythological story about, and conspiracy story about the Nazis that created it. If you came across another story with trustable sources, please let me know. But I looked pretty deep into the topic and didn't find anything so far. So conspiracy is a drive of people. It's also the belief that people are being lied to and being manipulated by the happy few or the elite is a big factor in creating these healing frequency mythological stories. Also for the Solfeggio frequencies, this is even much more based on conspiracy. The very root of the whole theory is basically conspiracy, but because apparently in the early medieval ages, around the year 1000, there was a whole bunch of healing frequencies that were being used in Gregorian chants, and the church decided to hide them from the mass because they were so powerful. But actually they are still hidden in the Bible. And there was a guy named I think Joseph Poleo, he was called, an American guy in the 70s that was very interested in numerology and numbers in the Bible. And he, according to himself, rediscovered those healing codes or secret hidden codes. And then his friend Leonard Horowitz kind of run away with the theory, and especially the frequency 528. Actually, he stamped the biblical number 528 and I don't know in how far that is actually really biblical, he stamped it into a healing frequency. Suddenly he decided to call this number a number of cycles per second. Nobody knows why. Yeah, and then he commercialized this number and this acoustic frequency in any possible way. And it's really connected to a whole huge global business. It's 432, but it's also the Solfeggio codes or frequencies that are based on conspiracy. So what motivates people on the one hand, it's popularity and financial gain. On the other hand, it's mistrust towards the happy few, mistrust towards authority, it's conspiracy. And then thirdly, what motivates people? And I think that is a big factor underlying many of these theories. It's not just mistrust. It is a longing for being closer to nature. And it's a longing to return to a way of living and a way of playing music and listening music that is more aligned with universal streams or universal vibrations, if you will, natural forces. And so when someone comes up with, hey, this might be a natural frequency, just the fact that the word natural is in it speaks to people. So it points at a deep longing of people in our technocratic society to be closer to nature, and a deep longing to heal, because the further we drift off from natural living and the further we drift off from our own bodies and a deeper divine reality that inhabits the body, the further we drift off, the more we long for healing, and the more we are actually in need for healing. So it's absolutely understandable that people turn to something else. And in the end, who decided to tune music to 440, or why was it decided? Not because it's beneficial for us, definitely not. But that doesn't mean that it is destructive for us either, or that doesn't mean that there is a diabolic intent behind. I mean, there's nothing that points in that direction. So if we want to return to nature and use sound and music for that, let's do that in a proper way. And let's not create yet another fantasy that disconnects us from reality and our own body. Why do I believe the theory of 432 is a fantasy? Well, I investigated the main arguments pretty much in depth, and let me go briefly through those main arguments. One of them is 432 is in line with the Schumann resonance or the Schumann frequency. That is an actual scientific phenomenon. There is something like a resonant frequency between the surface of the Earth and the ionosphere. There is actual vibration happening there. But there is a great misconception happening in how it is related to 432. First of all, the Schumann resonance isn't acoustic frequency. It isn't sound frequency at all. It is electromagnetic frequency. And very often these two are mixed with each other as if it's all the same thing. But frequency is just like kilometers, is a measurement, it's a way of measuring something. So when we measure the land, we say it's 2 kilometers or something, or miles if you live in the States. And when we when we measure cycles per second or waves per second, we or even occurrences of whatever, it can be so many things per time unit, usually a second, then we say this is frequency. Yeah, so electromagnetic frequency isn't acoustic frequency, and the Schumann resonance is electromagnetic. So this is one thing. Another is Schumann frequency isn't a fixed frequency at all. It is actually fluctuating quite a bit. So it's impossible to say it is in tune with 432 hertz. And then suppose it would stay only at one frequency, which is, I can't recall it, like 7.8, 7 whatever it is. This frequency, let's say it is this frequency, then do the math, and you will not end up in 432. You will end up a little bit lower. In my article, it's written very precisely. If you want to look it up, I'll add the link in the description. So clearly, this argument doesn't stand. So then there's another argument that 432 hertz was played by the musicians of the ancient times, of ancient Egypt, the great composers, Mozart, Vivaldi, and so on, tuned their music to 432. The ancient Greeks did, and many instruments were found. I mean, look into it. There's nothing over there that says that people tune their music to 432. Let me tell you, the term hertz was only coined in 1935. People weren't even aware of a thing called seconds in the medieval ages. A second didn't exist. So how could people possibly measure frequencies? There was no such thing. So also the solfeggio frequencies, it's impossible that they actually existed in the early medieval ages because there was no second. So it's weird that people buy into that. Yeah. So these are a few arguments that kind of debunk the 432 hertz theory. But then there's a last one that says, throw all rational knowledge aside and just feel. And I would like to invite you to actually do that. But if you do that, do it critically. And because there's a lot of factors that are in play when you're listening to music. And one of these factors definitely is placebo. So you should do blind tests. And I did a couple of blind tests with some people that came to visit. And there's absolutely nothing that points to 432 being more popular with people who are sensitive. But if you still doubt, I invite you to pass by and do the blind tests together with me. And I'm very happy to do an open experiment here at our center. So please pass by, please let me know. I'm not doing this online because you might actually cheat easily online. So I want to do a blind test here in person. You're very welcome to visit me for that reason. So yeah, and then there's the last argument. There is a lot of scientific research that proves that 432 is more beneficial. Well, yes, there is some scientific research, and most of it, unfortunately, comes from the same Italian group. And Italy is known for being very much in favor of the 432 theory for reasons I'm not going to go into right now. And yeah, it shows that there is a little benefit towards 432 hertz. But the main conclusion is that more research needs to be done, as usual. But it's just a handful of experiments that have been done. So, I mean, maybe I'm missing out on something, but as far as I found so far, there is absolutely no conclusive evidence, and there is nothing rationally that points in the direction that this frequency is more healing or beneficial. And the last point I'm going to make is the most crucial, and that is about temperament and the relationships between tones. We can also say it's about overtones. So as long as your music is tuned in equal temperament, which it probably is, unless you play music from a different culture or on an instrument that you created yourself, as long as your music is tuned to equal temperament, you are going off the natural ratios, or the ratios that are embedded within sound or in the series of overtones. If you're playing in equal temperament, and let's say you're using a singing bowl and you hit a singing bowl, that singing bowl might have an overtone that is louder than a root note. Singing bowls tend to do that. Their overtones are usually louder than the root note. And so naturally we're going into like a just intonation piece of music if we play with singing bowls. And one of the overtones might not be aligned with another note you're playing in equal temperament. And that note might not be aligned with your root note of 432 hertz. So you can play a singing bowl in 432, but the overtone might be tuned to a different tone, and it will be because it's in just intonation. So as long as you don't understand fully the topic of just intonation and equal temperament, actually there's no discussion about reference pitch or natural music or natural sound. We gotta understand this topic first, and then we get automatically a deeper understanding into reference pitch and frequencies. Now, isn't there any argument for 432? I think actually there are some arguments why we would tune our music 8 hertz lower. And one of them is exactly this. A little lower might be beneficial. A little slower, we could do with that in our fast-paced rat race of the technocratic world. Everything goes faster and faster. And just dropping the music just a little bit might calm you down a little more, because going slower in rhythm and in frequency calms down. So this is one thing, but it only works, and it's a subtle effect, but it might really do something. It only works with music that you already know, because you are tuned subconsciously to a particular frequency in that song. Let's say the song you're hearing right now, you probably know this, right? And it's usually played in 440. Now let's drop it down. So when you hear that drop, and you might even listen to it without hearing the shift from one frequency to the other, your subconscious notices something, like something is going lower, slower, and that might have a slightly more calming effect on you. Although I believe there are other factors in play that are way, way more important when it comes to determining the effect. But anyway, it might have an effect. Secondly, there is the effect of your belief. As I mentioned before, if you believe 432 is going to heal you fully, every cell of your body is going to be happy and free, well, that is a strong factor. Also in sound healing or in any holistic therapy, this is an important, in any therapy really, this is an important factor to consider. Whether you believe you will heal or not is key, is crucial. So if a whole bunch of people, like millions of people, believe 432 is the natural frequency that benefits you, well, it might actually do something, and it might contribute to your belief that it does so. So the conclusion is, after all, healing frequencies don't have any particular effect that works the same for everyone. There are other factors in play, other important factors in a musical piece, in a sound piece, that determine a particular effect. Some of these factors are, as I mentioned earlier, temperament, or the ratios between the tones. That is actually really noticeable clearly. Another factor is, and often highly overseen in spiritual or sound healing circles, the skillful application of your instrument. Like, how much do you master your instrument technically? This is a huge factor, and I get it. There's a lot of Western musicians, and the way that is taught, that is very mental and very much focused just on techniques, and the disconnection between feeling and music is huge in our Western world. I get that. But on the other hand, we shouldn't go fully to the opposite direction and just play intuitively music without any skill. They should go hand in hand. You can really develop technical skills while being open to improvise and feel what music and sound is actually doing to your emotions, to your body, and so on. They can go hand in hand. So there is the effect of temperament and the ratios. There is the effect of how much the musician or sound worker is skilled. And then there is, and this is something difficult to explain, impossible to explain, there is the level of awakeness and conscious presence of the musician or the sound worker or sound healer. And you can't measure that. It is noticeable through feeling and maybe the amount of space and silence in between the notes or the music. The level of presence, consciousness, and that translates as moving energy within the body of the receiver or the body of the creator if you're playing it yourself. So these are a couple of factors that determine the effect of a musical piece, and of course there are much more. If you're interested in more, I investigated this topic pretty deeply, so let me know if you want to know more, or if you want to know more about a particular topic related to this. Let me know, and I create another episode or another video about whatever is your interest. So I hope to have informed you a little bit more on this, and I'm always happy to hear your opinion or your feelings about this topic as well. So please let me know in the comments or in a private email or whatever way feels right for you to communicate. Have a beautiful day. See you next time.